recording. Today we'll continue the literature. We are in Unit 3, Chapter 12, Jazz. Previous time we discussed Like Water for Chocolate, and today we'll take the main excerpt we have.
Miss, before we start, I want to tell you something.
Yes.
Miss, it has it says an account that I was absent once, but I wasn't absent never in your periods.
What says you were absent once?
No, I saw in my Classera account that I was absent in the English period, but I was never absent in your period.
Maybe it's a mistake of clarity.
And you don't have me as absent, right?
Yes, because I have a list here. Look, I check. I don't know if you can see it or not.
Okay.
So Serena, no, you were never absent. Okay. Am I recording, girls? Because it just didn't show me the.
Yes, you are recording.
Okay. So we continue the excerpt. Oh, we started because we haven't read any word of it. Jazz. Let's first share it before we study reading it. Here is it. Previous time we discussed it. We discussed the chapter 12. We discussed the 20th and the 30th. Then we said that it was the beginning of the African American to settle in Harlem and start their own culture, identity with the music, the jazz and the blues. Okay, and then we discussed the Jim Crow. And today we will talk about Jazz, the excerpt Jazz by Toni Morrison. It's a novel, okay? Nancy? Nancy?
Yes, miss.
Read it, Nancy, please.
Toni Morrison was born in 1931 in Lorain, Ohio. Like her characters Violet and Joe in Jazz, Morrison's parents were Southern sharecroppers who had migrated north. She was the only African American in her first grade class. One family influence on Morrison as a writer was their storytelling tradition. Another early influence was touring in the South with her college drama troupe. Morrison saw the painful effects of Jim Crow's laws that supported segregation. Her novels tell the story of Black America. Her subjects include slavery, racism, segregation, and exploitation, among others. In 1964, Morrison joined Random House Publishers as a senior editor. During her time there, she published her first novel, The Bluest Eye. Numerous additional novels followed, including Beloved, Jazz, and Paradise. In 1988, she received the Pulitzer Prize for Beloved. In 1993, she became the first African American to win the Nobel Prize for Literature.
Yes, so as we read, Toni Morrison was born 1931. And the three characters of her story, Jazz, Violet, Joey, and Jazz. Okay, Violet and Joey. These are the two married couple, or the married couple, the man and a woman, and the married couple. Her parents were Southern sharecroppers. She was the first Black in her class. Okay, and she saw the painful effects of Jim Crow laws. What was the Jim Crow laws? That the discrimination after ending slavery, they started the age of discrimination, okay, and segregation. Her novels tell the story of Black America. Her subject includes slavery, racism, and segregation. Okay. This is Jazz. Thank you, Nancy. Nirvana.
Yes, miss.
Read it, please.
Continue reading?
Yes.
Okay. The novel deliberately mirrors the music of its title, with various characters improvising solo compositions that fit together to create a whole work. The tone of the novel also shifts with these compositions, from bluesy laments to upbeat, sensual ragtime. The novel also utilizes the call and response style of jazz music, allowing the characters to explore the same events from different perspectives.
Yes, this is another cover for jazz. Okay, and then we continue reading. We start reading. I will, I'll share the. Before we start, I prepared a video for you. Let's see it first.
I didn't discover why I wrote really until later. At the very beginning, when I wrote the first book, The Bluest Eye, I came at it as not a writer but a reader, and such a story didn't exist. Every little homely black girl was a joke or didn't exist in literature, and I was eager to read about a story where racism really hurts and can destroy you.
You don't think you will ever change and write books that incorporate white lives into them substantially?
I have done.
In a substantial way?
You can't understand how powerfully racist that question is, can you? Because you could never ask a white author, when are you going to write about black people?
Toni Morrison's prose brings us that kind of moral and emotional intensity that few writers ever attempt. From Song of Solomon to Beloved, Toni reaches us deeply using a tone that is lyrical, precise, distinct, and inclusive.
There would never have been a book club had there not been you as an author.
Really?
No. So I thank you, Miss Morrison. I thank you.
Fabulous.
Yes. Never would have been one without you. Never would have been.
Well, you know, I'm trying not to write just because I can, or just write more. I'm trying to write less that means more, that says more. For me, it's extremely important for the clarification not only of the past, but of who we are as human beings in this country. No matter what happens, God has sent you home. I was editing a book at Random House, and it was a kind of scrapbook of all sorts of things that emanated from African American culture. And I came across this woman, Margaret Garner, and the story was that a slave woman had killed her children or tried to kill them all. What struck me was the theme was that she was not crazy. And they were stunned to find her A, articulate, B, sane, and 3, interested in doing it again. I know how to write forever. I don't think I could have happily stayed here with the calamity that has occurred so often in the world if I did not have a way of thinking about it, past, present, future, which is what writing is for me. It's control. Nobody tells me what to do. I am in control. It is my world. It's sometimes wild, the process by which I arrive at something. But nevertheless, it's mine, it's free, and it's a way of thinking. It's pure knowledge.
Okay, this was Toni Morrison, girls. the famous author. And now, are you with me, girls?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now I share for you the
Yes.
book. Did you see the book side?
Yes, it's loading.
Miss, what page?
249. Okay. Maryam Shaghdali is here. Maryam? Noor?
Miss, did you call me?
Who?
Yes.
Maryam.
Serena.
No, dear, I called Maryam Shaghdali. Noor?
Yes, Miss.
Yes, Noor. Read ya, Noor. 249.
Okay. Identifying the main idea. Identifying the main idea of a text is important in understanding what you have read. The passage below is an excerpt from Toni Morrison's novel Jazz, which is set in Harlem, New York, in the 1920s. If you are given an excerpt from a novel, you do not get the benefit of reading the exposition of the story.
Exposition of the story is what, girls? When what happens in the exposition of the story? What do we see in the exposition of the story? Exposition is the very beginning of the story where we
Yes, the introduction.
what happens in the introduction of a novel? We meet
About the
We meet the
characters.
characters.
we meet the characters, we know the setting and the conflict. Okay, continue, Noor.
Exposition is a literary device used to introduce background information about events, settings, and characters to the audience or readers. So, without that information, you have to make some interferences.
Inferences.
What?
Make an inference. I
Inference.
will explain it now.
In fact, sometimes even if you start at the beginning of a novel, depending on the structure and style, you may have to make inferences about what is going on.
He says
Use
to
your
you, because you do not read the whole novel, because you just read an excerpt of the novel, so it means that you have to make an inference about the characters, because you do not read the exposition. It's just an excerpt of a novel, not the whole novel. So because I didn't read the whole novel, how can I understand how the story goes on? So he says that you have to make an inference. Making an inference, what is making an inference? Making an inference is what you read plus your prior knowledge gives you an inference. As we said many times before, if I read that Noor woke up late at 8, at 10, so I can understand that because my prior knowledge tells me that school starts at 8, so I can understand that Noor has missed 2 periods. So this is making an inference, is what I read plus my prior knowledge to get to know new idea about the character or uh, new understanding of the story. Okay, and here, because we do not read the exposition, so we do not meet the characters, we do not know the setting, and we don't get know the background, so we have to make an inference about all of that. Yes, continue, Noor. Use your background.
Use your background knowledge, the text title, and the general characteristics to make a prediction about what this excerpt might be about.
Yes, dear. Objectives. What will we do while we read first read?
As you read this selection, underline the most important sentence in each paragraph or every few paragraphs. Also correct and confirm your predictions made before reading. Write
Inferences.
inferences or questions you have in the My Thoughts
So
column.
for each paragraph we read, we get to know the main idea of the paragraph, because the objective here, or the in the first read, it is identifying the main idea. And as we said at the beginning of the year, girls, we take literature not to know what are the events, what is the plot, who are the characters. No, we get to know how can we write the way they write. So here, or how can we understand it? So here he wants to tell me identifying the main idea. How can I get a main idea out of the paragraph? Thank you, Noor. Ragad? Ragad? Okay. Sarah?
Yes, miss.
Yes, Sarah, read please the excerpt from the beginning, the excerpt itself.
Okay, miss. Yes. They met in this very country, Virginia, under Miss, wait, miss, my net is not good. They met in Vesper Country, Virginia, under a walnut.
Walnut tree.
Miss, wait. Virginia, under a walnut tree. She had been working in the fields like everybody else, and stayed past picking time to live with a family 20 miles away from her town. They knew people in common and suspected had at least one relative in common. They were drawn together because
They had been put together, and all they decided for themselves was when and where to meet.
Can stop reading. My net is not good at all.
Okay, okay, Sarah, thank you. Serene? Serene?
Yes, teacher.
Continue, Serene, from unsuspected they had.
Teacher,
Serene,
where?
fourth line.
Where? And suspected they had at least one relative in common. They were drawn together because they had been put together, and all they decided for themselves was when and where to meet at night.
So where is the main idea here, Serene? Where is the main idea in this paragraph, dear? Serena, what is the main idea here, Serena?
Yes, ma'am.
The main idea in this paragraph, where is it?
About them meeting
I want a sentence that it is the main idea. A sentence that we underline to say that it is the main idea of the paragraph. Serene or Serena?
They knew people common and suspected they had at least one relative in common.
So is this all about that they know they have one relative in common?
Maybe about her working like nobody else. Miss, there is no main idea. Each sentence is scattered alone.
Maybe
maybe it has something to do with her family.
Who talks? Who's talking?
Judy.
Yes, Judy, huh?
Their connection. They were talking. They had these two people had some sort of connection between each other.
So where is the main idea? The sentence that is the main idea of the paragraph here, dear?
They were drawn together.
Excellent. They were drawn together because they had been put together, and all they decided for themselves was when and where to meet at night. So we can understand that he talks about whom?
We're assuming
about Vesper Country.
About two
two people that are
who-
going
About
to
two
meet.
people,
Yes.
Violet and Joe.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Serene. Thank you, Serena. Sham Mazen.
Miss, can I read?
Who? Judy?
Yes.
Okay, Judy. But wait a minute, Sham Hassan. Okay, Judy.
Violet and Joe left Tyrol, a railway stop through Vesper County, in 1906 and boarded the colored section of the Southern Sky. When the train trembled approaching the waters surrounding the city, they thought it was like them, nervous at having gotten there at last, but terrified of what was on the other side. Eager, a little scared, they did not even nap during the 14 hours of ride, smoother than a rocking cradle. The quick darkness in the carriage cars when they shot through a tunnel made them wonder if maybe there was a wall ahead to crash into, or a cliff hanging over nothing.
What is this? What does mean? What does it mean, dear? What have you read now? What is it about?
It's about two people that went together on a train, but they were scared of something. They were nervous. They were terrified
Hmm.
of something we still don't know what, Annie.
Hmm.
They were also hoping that maybe, because they were terrified, it was to a point where they thought that this is going to
How
end
did
in a
we know
bad way.
that? How did we know that they are terrified?
It was mentioned. They were,
Yes.
but terrified of what was on the other side. Eager, but a little scared.
They didn't even nap during the 14 hours of a ride, smoother than a rocking cradle. Smoother than a rocking cradle. Thank you, Jude. We take Tia. Tia. وعد بدور.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, وعد. وعد or Tia?
No one.
Yes, وعد. Continue reading وعد from the quick darkness in the carriage.
The quick darkness in the carriage cars when they shot through a tunnel made them wonder maybe if maybe there was a wall ahead to crash into, a cliff hanging over nothing. The train shivered them at the thought, but went on, and sure enough there was grounded up ahead, and trembling became the dancing under their feet. Joe stood up, his finger clashing the package rock above his head. He felt the dancing better that way, and told Violet to do the same. Um, they were hanging there, a young country couple laughing and trampling back to the trucks, when the attendant came through, pleasant but unsmiling now, thought he didn't have to smile in this car full of colored people.
So here, what's happening here after they are terrified, and they are on a trip to a place, another place, and they are scared. They wish that when they reach the other place, they will be more happier in this. The train shivered with them. Hmm.
And they were they were like becoming more comfortable,
Yes, what did they do to become more comfortable?
dancing and laughing with the
Ex
surroundings.
Excellent. The trembling became the dancing under their feet. So what did Juice did? What did he do?
Um,
So يعني miss, they were a couple, they loved each
Yes.
other, and they
Yes,
were
dear.
running away.
Yes.
he stood up.
No,
Uh,
I'm not sure about running away. I'm not sure because I read the summary and it was not mentioned. Yani it was mentioned something else. I'll tell you at the end.
okay.
So they start dancing wild, right? And told Violet to do the same, right?
Yeah.
So here they are, a young country couple laughing and tapping back at the tracks. But when the attendant came, attendant is the one that takes the tickets in this. He, pleasant but unsmiling now, he didn't have to smile in this car full of colored people. So what is the clue here about racism? What is the clue here?
The attendant being grumpy.
Oh, it is Jude? Judy?
Yes, Judy.
Let Wad answer, dear.
I thought it was a general
It's okay,
question.
Habs, it's okay. Thank you, sweetheart, for cooperating and interacting with me. So, Wad, what is a clue here that there is racism at that time toward black people?
You want me to say the line, miss, or
Hmm?
you want me to read the line where it explains the racism?
He
The racism?
when it is said, yani, he didn't have to, huh?
Smile. He didn't have to
Smile
smile
in the
in the
car
car
full
full of
of.
colored people.
Yes, so the word colored people will not be said in a word free of segregation. Okay, so this we can infer. This is making an inference. What we made now, girls, is to make an inference. So we read colored people, and we understand when they say colored people and he cannot smile in their face, we understand that there is racism or segregation or discrimination. Thank you, thank you, dear.
يعني Miss Joe and Violet are people of color. They are
Yes,
not
black
white.
people. Toni Morrison, didn't you see her interview now? The anchor asked her, "Will you ever write about white people?" She said, "It all my books about black people because it was the first mentioned in literature."
Yeah, يعني the first in literature was talking about black people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maya?
Yes, teacher.
Yes, read, dear. Breakfast in the dining car.
Yes, okay. Breakfast in the dining
It is
car.
line 28, girls.
Okay. Breakfast in the dining car. Good morning. Full breakfast in the dining car. He held a carriage blanket over his arm and from underneath it drew a pint bottle of milk, which he placed in the hands of a young woman with a baby asleep across her knees. Full breakfast. He never got his way, this attendant. He wanted the whole coach to file into the dining car, now that they could. Immediately, now that they were out of Delaware and a long way from Maryland, there would be no green as poison curtain separating the colored people eating from the rest of the dinners.
So here, what's happening here, Yamaya? The attendant said to them what? Breakfast in the dining car.
Yes.
What's happening here?
Wait, let me just see. Miss, can you give me a hint?
Okay, it is what we are reading here. He told everyone that there is breakfast now in the dining car, and he held a carriage blanket over his arm, and under it, it was a pin bottle of milk, and he gave it to a woman who with a baby. Okay, for
Yeah.
breakfast. What is important in the next paragraph from here, from line 4? He never got his way. This attendant, he wanted the whole coach to file into the dining car. Now that they could immediately, now that they were out of Delaware and a long way from Maryland, they went from Maryland, moved from Maryland, there would be no longer green, no green as poison curtain separating the colored people eating from the rest of the diners. So we can understand that there was what separating what of what.
Miss?
Yes, there was what separating what of what.
Can you say that no, they weren't served in most restaurants or allowed in the dining car?
There were what, dear, again?
They weren't served. Like they were searching for peace.
Yes,
Did they
but what is
separate them?
here? What, Hoda?
They separate them, the black people and
yes, they used to separate the black people of the white people when, okay, they are not no slaves anymore. They are free citizens and American citizens.
discrimination.
But they are not allowed, excellent, it's discrimination. Were not allowed to sit together in the same dining place. So there was a curtain to separate the white of the black in their hometown. Now they moved from Maryland to another city, which segregation is less, or there is no segregation. Okay? Or there is
Segregation
less
means
segregation
like
or no segregation. And we can understand that they were dancing in the train and then they will all go to have breakfast in the dining car without no, and he called it no green as poison curtain, because this curtain resembles discrimination.
yeah.
So they hated this curtain.
Miss
So,
segregation means يعني restriction towards a race, like
yes,
that.
yes.
Teacher, what do
Okay.
they mean by when they said he never got his way? This attendant.
The attendant,
Yes, he never got his way.
he didn't move. He went and he wanted everyone to go.
They didn't want to go?
He wanted all of them to go to the dining room.
And what?
Okay? So now we have Violet and Joe. The two of them, they met in a field. They were working in a farm and they moved together to another. They fell in love. It looks like they fell in love, and they are a couple, and they are moving from Maryland, okay, to another country. Okay, so let's stop here and we move to the second period and we continue reading, girls.
Okay, bye.
Take 5 minutes only.
Okay.